everyone here, do you agree with Eric Holder and Barack Obama that we should not look back, we should only look forward? No! What kind of a future do we want? Do we want more? I didn't think so, but look, we got some reality to deal with, brothers and sisters. Under the Bush era, who hated torture? Who hated Dick Cheney? 91% of the population was negative towards Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, who said famously, waterboarding, it's a no-brainer. He knew he was torturing. But what did the Bush regime say when it was so unpopular? We do not torture. We don't torture. What did they do for 7 years? Covered it up while torturing. But most importantly, what are they doing now? What is Dick and Liz Cheney doing now?
Fear-mongering.
Parading across the country and the world, maybe if Cheney's allowed to leave this country, talking about keep America safe. Now Cheney does not say we don't torture. He says we will, we must, and we can torture to keep America safe. The paradigm is being steadily shifted by the right, which means we have an incredible responsibility to go to the people now and say, look, we have to look backward. We have to hold these crimes accountable, lest they be repeated, and not only repeated, but expanded and emboldened. Does anyone know how many people are being held right now in the Bagram Detention Center under U.S. detention without the benefit of habeas corpus?
600.
We are told 600. We really don't know because the U.S. government, the holder justice treatment. We don't know who they are, and they have no legal representation because excuse me, I started to say the Bush Justice Department, but I meant the Obama Justice Department has gone to court denying habeas rights for those 600 unknown people in Bagram. Because why? It's an active war zone. Why is it an active war zone? Because the United States, now under 2 presidents, is carrying on still an illegitimate, illegal occupation of Afghanistan, spreading it, killing civilians, all in our name and in the name of saving the people. But this is the result. This is completely intolerable. The world still can't wait for us to act. Even though we did not drive out the Bush regime, we have an incredibly important responsibility to act visibly and together to stop the Bush program, to drive out the Bush program, and to keep it from being expanded. I thank everyone for coming. I'll see you in Washington tomorrow at 11 o'clock in front of the White House for a tableau against torture. The world can't wait.
Nationally of Veterans for Peace, who was a city council member in Toledo, Ohio, among many other things he's done there, in and out of jail, a leader across the country, and now here in Virginia, Mike Ferner.
Today, it's great to be anywhere outside of south of Ohio, and the kind of weather we've been having. It's wonderful to be here with you. Veterans for Peace, a few years ago, started working with David Swanson and Deborah Sweet, The World Can't Wait, and a number of other individuals and groups around the country in an effort to impeach George Bush and Dick Cheney. Well, as you know, we weren't successful at that. But in putting together the documents and doing the research for Veterans for Peace, I learned an amazing amount, and I wanted to share just a little bit of that with you. For example, you know, when you look back at the Nuremberg trials and the Nuremberg Tribunal, you probably know that Justice Robert Jackson, who was on the U.S. Supreme Court at the time, answered a request from President Truman to head up the U.S. prosecution at Nuremberg. And Justice Jackson did that. And in the rubble of Nazi Germany, just a few months after Hitler, after Germany surrendered, they started the Nuremberg Tribunal. But before they did that, they had to get agreement between the Allied powers, between France, Britain, Russia, and the United States. They had to get agreement on what the ground rules were going to be. And Russia wanted the Nuremberg, what would turn out to be the Nuremberg principles, the precedents that they were going to set. Russia wanted those applied only to the Nazis. And tribunal are going to apply to all nations for all time, even those countries sitting here in judgment today. And that finally won the day. The Russians agreed, and that has been the tradition coming out of that Nuremberg Tribunal, is that those principles apply worldwide and forever, not just to the aggressors of World War II. So one of the things that we are supposed to do, and actually did when it comes to this issue of torture, was to adopt into our criminal code the UN Convention Against Torture, and we did that. Actually, it was signed by Ronald Reagan in 1988, and later on, it was the 1996 War Crimes Act was signed by President Clinton. And the UN Convention stipulates that no exceptional circumstances whatsoever, whether a state of war or a threat of war, internal political instability, or any other public emergency may be invoked as a justification of torture. And those documents, along with the Geneva Conventions, are amazingly easy to read, and I would recommend them to you. Bottom line is, there is no longer a need to create a legal case against John Yoo and the other people from that administration and this administration if they continue. The law is clear. They have broken the law. What it's going to take is the political movement that is going to be joined by people all over the country to demand that people like John Yoo be held to the rule of law, and that we actually uphold the statutes that are already on the books. That's all we have to do. We don't need one more new law, but it's going to be up to us and people around the country to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Crowd America PDA on Wednesday with other groups organized vigils at 89 Congress members' district offices around the country demanding that they vote no on any more money for war. Code Pink is the organization that brings the most color and creativity and drama to everything we do anywhere in the country. Here is a representative of both of those organizations and the leader of the accountability, I'm sure the name has changed by now, but the team, the Accountability and Justice organizing team within PDA, Susan Harmon.
Come to you from the Bay Area out in San Francisco in California, where we harbor 4 war criminals. We have an unusual obligation and responsibility out there. John Yoo teaches at the University of Berkeley in the law school there, and you should know that we protest his classes when we can find them. They are now secret. Only the 24 students who are registered for his class know where it will be. They send out an email the night before telling them, because they're afraid of us, which is wonderful. We've brought the University of California to its knees. We also have Jim Haynes, who works for Chevron, one of the most evil corporations in the universe, and Jay Bybee often sits on the Ninth Circuit Court in San Francisco, and we are there whenever he sits. We are there, and we speak up and tell his comrades to have him impeached, basically. And the fourth one is Condoleezza Rice, who's down at Stanford. So we have more than our share of war criminals on the West Coast. The John Yoo Head, the wonderful John Yoo Head, comes to you courtesy of Code Pink in the Bay Area, Code Pink Golden Gate. I want to say something about aggressive war, which I think is way worse than torture. We tortured to get the lie that Iraq was involved in 9/11. It wasn't. We tortured until we got somebody to say that. Once we said that, they went to Congress and got permission to start a war in Iraq. It's an illegal war, as we all know. But that's what the torture was for, not to get useful information. Everyone who knows anything about interrogation knows that you don't get useful information from torture.